Everybody, welcome. Today, this is episode 37 now of the Architecture Vogue Property People podcast. And today, I welcome Kevin Crawford, who is a multi-business owner, fair to say, I think founder of Designing Success and the Architecture Survey Company. That's right, Kevin, is it? And also, you've been in practice for 20 years with Crawford Architecture, who are based up in Scotland. I suppose, really, Kevin, the best thing with you having these couple of different businesses and your story, basically, which is you coming up through the ranks from your dad's business, I think it was, wasn't it? Um,
Yeah,
just to probably tell the audience your story going back from as a youngster and coming into your father's practice and how you've come to where you are today with these other businesses, basically. If you wanted to introduce yourself.
yeah, sure, Nick, no problem at all. The background is starting out as a 14-year-old going into my dad's architecture practice. So he started it in 1987. So I think we're at 39 years. Um, in a place called Montrose, which is in the northeast of Scotland, in between Aberdeen and Dundee. And yeah, when I got to 14 years old, he started encouraging me to come in after school. And that was my introduction to the business at that point. So maybe at some points along the journey, I should have ran a mile at that point, but yeah, no, I'm joking. My education obviously started at that point, and
Yeah,
because it was my dad's business, he was already at a stage where he was, running the business side of the practice. So I got a nice balance. I got a nice introduction between. I used to sit in the design studio on the drawing boards at the team were on the drawing boards at the time,
yeah,
which I'm kind of feel fortunate that I experienced that from a young age as well before the likes of your CADs and things came in.
yeah.
Um, so and I used to go out to site a lot, I was like 15-year-old, 16-year-old with the team that was there at that time, and obviously with my dad. But I would also sit through with my dad in his office and learn a bit about the business, which, obviously I didn't have a clue at that time. But over the years, I started to learn it. And then slightly unique, probably a situation here where I'd actually been in the practice through holidays after school and got more into it and more into it and loved it. Loved the experience out on site. I probably didn't fully appreciate it at the time, but
Mm.
being introduced to details on site from contractors and things like that, which sometimes misses nowadays, but all that learning experience. So I then got to leaving school age and went into the practice full time,
Yep.
and then realised that everybody else went to college, university, whatever that was at the time. So I was in a bit of a strange position because I'd already worked in the practice for that length of time and was learning a lot in the business. But I did
Yeah.
go off to uni, and I did do my AT course up in Aberdeen. But after that, I came straight back in, and I was almost. I obviously did. I work in both sides of the business, but um, I guess what was happening from that young age was the experience of being able to see how the management of architects, technicians, technologists, admin, finance, everything, um, and the challenges of the business at that point. When I look back and see the stuff that stressed my dad out and caused long working hours and
Yeah.
everything that goes with it. And if you want to fast forward 20, I guess 27 years, but 15, 20 years, on that side of the business. And that threw a lot at me,
Of course. Yeah. And
multiple.
you went down the technician route. Because I think you mentioned before to me, you made a conscious decision to not go down the architecture route. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't say it was planned, but what happened is because I'd done the AT course, and then the plan, I guess, there was a time where I planned to go on and do the full architecture qualification. Um, but at the time, I was learning a lot about the business of the architecture, and as time went on, it was probably still there. And then when we started employing, architects, chartered architects as well, of more recent years,
Mm.
and kids came along and everything, I then realised that it wasn't necessarily going to benefit me because I was my I guess my real education was then in the management of the practice and the management of the business and the
Yeah.
systems and the strategies and the tools and the spreadsheets and the data and everything that went with it. Culture, built up a really good,
Yeah.
culture, all these sorts of things. So, um, and I guess it's only now that you can look back and realise that I class that as a 27-year degree,
Yeah.
20
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
basically been my education. Um, and then, yeah, obviously more laterally, then it was a case of we didn't have a succession plan. My dad got to 70 years old, and we'd always spoken that we'd sort it out over a over a beer or over a coffee or over a meal.
Yeah.
And quite clearly, now I realise that it wasn't as simple as that, and it was a real testing time. So I think what I learned from that was that succession plan becomes massive, becomes
Yeah.
really, really important, not to put it off till a rainy day. And then we went down the employee ownership route.
Hmm.
And
Was this quite recently, or is this
yeah, so April last year,
okay?
so
Yeah. Yeah.
we're up for a year into it. But I love, um, it was a quote from Dan Priestley. Some of the listeners might be familiar with Dan's stuff online. Um, and we were on it's called Den Global's ski trip in February, and Dan's main message there was that everything's it's relatable over impressive. And I looked back at my story and thought, there's so much. What I love about the story is that there's so many um, lessons learned. I don't really class them as mistakes. I always say that to my boys. That you don't really fail, you just learn. So I've
Yeah.
always been pretty strong that if something's going wrong, then I guess it's resilience, and it's knowing that it'll come good and just keep working hard, consistency, discipline, and you get there. But we've certainly
Yeah.
learned a lot from not having a succession plan, and well, my dad at 70 didn't have a succession plan. Maybe traditional there,
Yeah.
or in that it'll sort itself out when you get to retirement age. And I've
But
been
had he planned for you to take up the reins anyway? Was that kind of just
well,
how he thought he would be?
just how you thought it would be, and
Yeah.
then I was in a position at 40 years old with Cammy and my two boys. Cammy's 11, Charlie's 9 now.
Yeah.
So I looked at it like if it was going to be a 5-year buyout from me to my dad,
Yeah.
we're 50% shareholders. So if I was to go and buy the business for the next 5, 7, whatever it was, years, how does that impact on my family? Because there was
Yeah.
not really a plan in place. So it would have meant obviously paying out quite a lot every month to do that. And I felt that in my position, especially with Cammy being at 11 years old, and if he gets to 15, 16, 17 years old, do I want to turn around and say, guys, I'm 100% shareholder of a business?
Yeah.
Or do we look at an alternative? So basically, I know there wasn't a plan in place, but we tried to turn it around from not being a negative because there was a spell where it was a negative, and it strained a bit of relationships. We're lucky, we've got a close family,
Yeah.
but it was the first time that it had been tested because there was no plan. And
Yeah.
like most successful things, they need a plan, and it was just there was no time. Like it just kept being put off because the business was going. I was personally on the hamster wheel. I was going
Yeah.
100 miles an hour. The business was going 100 miles an hour, and there was no really any time to plan fully for a succession plan. So I've learned a lot by not having a plan, but I've also learned a lot on the other side of it as well, because it's not just as simple as right, you do that and that it all works out, because
Yeah.
people are assuming different roles and trying to understand what the long term vision is. But on the whole, I love the whole shared vision. I love the accountability. I love that people believe that it's feel that it's theirs as well. It wasn't
Yeah.
just theirs and things. So there's a lot of positives. But also a lot of lessons along the way. So that's effectively the journey,
Yeah.
the 27-year journey. And I didn't expect to do this at 42 years old, but it probably took me that 2 years. Probably notably, what I forgot to mention in there is that I had a back operation 4 years ago now,
Yeah.
5 years ago, and what that did, the 4 a.m. starts, the midnight finishes, the horrible times, in younger years, and if that's wear and tear, sitting posture wise at the
Yeah,
chair
yeah,
all,
yeah,
and not really looking after myself in a way. I've always been sporty, but I neglected my own health, I guess, by not eating properly and
yeah,
just grabbing things on the go, and yeah, really not putting myself first, putting the business ahead of everything. And I guess when that all changes as well, it's part of the framework actually that I teach now because of it's actually the first framework's about the person behind the practice. It's not actually the
okay,
business.
yeah,
Because I'm a big believer, especially since I've started doing this, I've learned that a lot of people are in the same boat.
yeah,
Um, but I believe that the healthier and happier the person behind the practice or the people behind the practice are, then the better, the business will be. So I quite like that. There's a lot on health and well-being. There's a lot on self-development,
yeah,
and actually just lifestyle in general. Because what we don't want is people allowing the business to run them.
yeah,
I always said that I ran a business, but it was probably false. I think what in reality now
yeah,
the business was running me. There's no doubt about it.
yeah.
So certainly for
And
long periods until recent years, yeah.
so this leads you on then. So we've talked about the practice and everything. This is now your relatively new business, which you've called Designing Success. Is that pretty much what you're talking about now? This falls under that remit of your Designing Success business, and you're looking there to work with purely people within the architecture space and practice directors, or is it anybody in any line of business, or what's the kind of Designing Success story?
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't somewhere I expected to be. I didn't plan to do it.
Yeah,
What the reason it came around was that I was always brought up traditionally to be, we don't speak to other practices. It's almost like seeing everybody's
yeah,
rivals.
yeah,
And what I've found through having coffees, I just decided to start having coffees with other people who were in similar position, other
yeah,
practice owners. And to be honest, I've absolutely loved it. Had some great coffees with some great people,
yeah,
and that collaboration. We're just sharing challenges, sharing how we've solved various things, and not feeling alone. Which I felt alone for a long, long time in the practice because
yeah,
yes, there was the architects and technologists in the team, but who did I turn to? Who helped me? I didn't I
yeah,
didn't know until latterly when I started investing a lot in myself, and now I've got my mentors in each area. Like mentoring health and well-being, mentoring wealth and finance, mentoring business, and the coffees slowly turned into almost like group sessions, and then into the events. But the events are relatively new. We've done three now.
yeah,
And what I love about them, it's not about me. It's the collaboration. It's about people just sharing the challenges and kind of taking time to reflect on what's actually happening. And because I was on that hamster wheel for a long time and I didn't take time, um, I read a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, which I would highly recommend for anybody listening. And I started to build out the system. And one of the things in there that stands out is taking a 2 days away from the practice.
yeah,
And interestingly, some of the events you'll get a couple of last minute emails, obviously saying sorry, I just don't have time, and it's kind of the whole point of it to try to buy time. But
yeah,
um, the best thing that I ever did was go away to me and David, who's a business partner in Crawford Architecture. We went to Tenerife, whenever that was, for lose track of the years, but we went 4 or 5 years ago maybe, and we got a lot of stick because people thought that it was just a holiday.
yeah,
How can you possibly have time to go to Tenerife? But for the cost of the investment, for the return of investment,
mm,
we sat there, we mapped out 1 year plan, 3 year plan, 5 year plan, marketing strategy. We did a people skill set analyzer. We thought, how do we track data? We looked at the data. We started doing all this sort of stuff. And by getting away, by getting time, it was just massive for me. So now with the events, they're basically aimed on taking a day out of the practice and starting to just reflect. So the main thing in design success is just trying to, I guess what I'm trying to do is help others that are in the same situation or share, because I
yeah,
believe that my 27 years in the business, I realised that then that story has a value. All the mistakes, misconceptions, potentially people at a similar age, potentially younger people that have just started out as a business,
Yeah.
people that are maybe a bit lost with their business, not sure where it's heading, and maybe an older generation that's thinking about retiring but don't know where to start. So it's really just trying to share that.
Well,
Um,
your experience is you're very well placed as an individual, having come up through the ranks. You've been in a family business for what is now since 1987, so 40 years basically. You've grown up through it, and you can help those that are starting out today, coupled with those that are heading towards the end of their career that don't know what to do. Succession planning, as well as talking about lots of people. It's a hot topic now, becoming an employee-owned business, isn't it? And of course, you've done that as well. So you,
yeah,
yeah,
I know we've obviously covered quite a lot, and not all approaches will be. I see it with different size practices. We've had sole practitioners at events. We've had, maybe a team of 16, 18, maybe being the highest at the moment, but
yeah,
and everything in between. But it's not, one fits all. But I think
mm,
with the community that we've built as well, it's quite nice because you've got others that'll maybe help others as well in the community,
yeah,
with a problem. But we're obviously not trying to help them be better architects. That's what they're good at. That's their skill set. That's their passion, and that's what they enjoy doing. But I've always I've always thought that, or when I reflect back on, we go to universities, we get degrees, but are we taught how to run businesses? Probably
mm,
not.
no,
A lot of people try to figure it out themselves. So I think, yeah, we want to let them focus on, certainly clients I work with just now, it's letting them focus on what they're good at and what they're doing right, and trying to streamline, make the businesses more efficient. And that's kind of why I've built the ecosystem of tools, around about, from the app to the survey company
yeah,
to design success, and just trying to give something back. I believe that the burnouts, the midnight finishes, the 4 a.m. starts. Sometimes I miss bedtime story, although I've always been there for the kids, but it's got to be worth
yeah.
some experience to others, and I'm enjoying sharing it at the moment.
So where does the out of the picture then? I understand obviously your practice. You moved away from practice for a period of time to go and set up designing success. Where does the architectural survey company fit into this then, as part of the kind of the three businesses that you've got?
So the survey company, it was something that I reckoned that had carried out over 500 manual surveys,
Yeah.
obviously more recently with, lasers and things, but
Mm.
it was one of these things that one of the challenges is wearing multiple hats, that I'm sure we'll all agree with. We try to be everybody in the business at times, especially with small team sizes. We're everybody. We're the
Yep.
surveyor, we're the architect, the technician, we're the finance person, we're everybody. So it was just something that I've always had a bit of a, that was, how can I make every stage more efficient? And with that, I think it's really important to note that it's still important to go out to site to see the job, obviously,
Yep.
and walk around and get a feel for it if you're going to be designing something. But we just wanted to provide a service, a partner. We've basically classed as a partner for practices
Yep.
to go and do that survey, obviously, with the full scanning softwares, and get that, pinpoint accuracy, and almost, I think the message almost like, so the designing starts from the minute they get the existing drawn package, because what we found was that we were burning a lot of our initial early fees by going out to site, manual surveys, drawing it up, maybe sizes not working out, maybe revisits, all this sort of stuff. So that was the one piece of the jigsaw to try to make the early stages more efficient.
Yep.
Um, and you touched on there about coming away from the practice. It's an interesting one because obviously it was part of my dad's retirement, this as well. But
Yep.
clearly I was, going to retire at 40, obviously. So be nice, but
Yeah, it would be nice.
it's, um, but I've obviously got a lot to give, and I came in as the, like, I think my role was the basically being the business strategist and doing for Crawford's what I was doing with a few other clients,
Yep.
and just being there and working through it. When you go through the transition journey, you're obviously, it's not just a case of, okay, we've done that, and just leave everybody to it. So
Yeah.
um, I do try to pass on all my experience to people in different roles. There's new directors there, and it's just been there as being there for all the questions, helping guide in the right direction,
Yeah.
and I love being involved, and I love helping the clients that I'm helping just now, because as long as you're bringing value, I think it's the same feeling as a lot of the listeners will feel that sense of, I guess, pride, satisfaction, when maybe they hand over an extension or a new house, and the client's delighted with it, and you've made a real contribution, you're with your skill set. So I think I'm kind of feeling the same feeling with some of the stuff we're doing just now, when I'm moving companies in the right direction, so, and
And
not
you
just
you
that.
go on,
Sorry, no,
sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to mention.
You touched on an app as well, didn't you? What's the app then? What's where does that sit into the picture?
Yeah, so this started, we used to run the business from post-its, or shout instructions across the office, and I just thought there must be a better way. We started out with general project management software, and hey,
Yeah.
it was great, but we outgrew it. We outgrew it because we were like, I just wish it did this, or I wish it did that. And I set out on a journey to try to build something. But to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I had no idea, absolutely no idea how to actually realise that, and it became a bit of a Dragon's Den situation. But we were very lucky, very fortunate to be backed by the investors,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
this to this day, which we're, yeah, let's say, we're really really appreciative of. But there's two parts to the app. We're beta testing the full release at the moment, which is great. We're getting good feedback from people, and it's basically just a system to. It's called Pilotus, but it's for running the business. But a key part of it was how I felt that a lot of decisions were made based on emotion rather than actual data.
Yeah.
Um, and now, obviously, the app takes stuff, takes information from the likes of Zero, and feeds back into profit per stage, and all this sort of things, and resourcing and things. So we've
Yeah.
basically just tried to get something that's going to make practice more efficient, and yeah, how I think from my experience, we always just kept doing the same thing. We did the same projects, and we had no idea, are they actually profitable or not, or
Yeah.
that type of client, or is that geographical location profitable? Well, we're just going on, we're just, hoping, I think,
Yeah.
more than anything. We would probably get to the end of year accounts meeting, and thankfully it was always positive, but we didn't really know, we hadn't really planned for it. Whereas now, even simple tips like that, the quarterly meetings with your accountant, I think is massive, because it
Yeah.
keeps you on track. And I always recommend that. We
Yeah.
did we also shifted the year end from, I think it was the 31st of May, and we shifted it. We did a shortened year end, and then just working calendar years now, which psychologically was massive for
Yeah.
me personally, because all of a sudden we can look back at data from 2024, 2025,
Yeah.
as opposed to June the 1st until May the
Yeah.
31st.
Yeah.
I always used to think, what quarter are we in? Count on
Yeah.
my hand, are we
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
Didn't even know what quarter we were in.
Yeah.
So I think little things like that were, they were maybe the little 1%, but when you start adding up all the 1%, you start to really gain traction. So um,
So is this app is now live and to be rolled out across the UK, or how are you promoting the app at the moment?
yeah, absolutely. Slow launch at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just, there's two parts to it. The first part's called Pilotus Forums. So the forums part's more about the onboarding process. So
Yeah.
we felt that a lot of the time you wouldn't maybe get the right information from an initial inquiry, or you would go out and spend a lot of time going to see a job, and it maybe wasn't the right job for you. So the whole there's an onboarding forums in there. There's checklists to keep building warrants as accurate as we can. It does a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pilotus Studio, which I would class as it's the engine room of the business, and that's where all the data, the resourcing, the um, time tracking, your normal things, task management, and meetings were obviously an obvious one on
Yeah.
your dashboard. And we've got an employee app, and a client app
Okay.
in progress at the moment. And the whole part of it is just to tie communicate, avoid multi-platform communication. I just felt I was going between emails, WhatsApp, Messenger, phone calls, clients texting at night, all these sorts of things. So if we could get it on, I looked at it and thought, people's got their banking on an app, they've got this on an app. So if they can
Yeah.
have their architect on an app,
Yeah.
so, we're just doing it to try to help.
Good idea. So you mentioned about the events you've held. You said three, I think, so far for Designing Success.
Yeah.
Are you looking to roll that out across the whole of the UK, or what's your kind of plan with that?
Yeah, so we've got two more penciled in. We've got April in Dundee, and then we've got the 27th of May in London.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, at the moment we're just seeing how they're going. They're I enjoy them, and they're I think people come away obviously with a lot of value for them. So it's just something a wee bit of fun, coming away from the day to day and actually sitting and going, right, what is actually working well, what's not
Yeah.
working well, what's causing friction, what could be done better. Has anybody had this sort of challenge? So the London one, we've got a couple of my mentors coming along to speak at it as well, which is good.
Yeah.
Kirk Miller on the fitness side and Jason Greystone on the wealth and finance and life in general.
Are
But
you still opening the London one up to bring architectural businesses across the south of the country to that event as well? How are you kind of promoting that at this stage?
it's absolutely open to anyone who wants to come along at this. There's
Yeah.
obviously on numbers, we try to keep them relatively small. We try to keep them under 30, but yeah, it's just as long as we get the right people to come along who want to collaborate, they want to just invest in themselves and try and push themselves and their business on. Um, but I feel that these guys have been great for me. I've
Mm.
obviously invested a lot in them, and they've been great for me. So to have them to try to, I'll take my existing clients along to it and things as well. But it's to give them, try and stay in my lane as well. I'm not a fitness coach or a health and well-being, but for example, Kirk keeps me right with accountability, which is massive. For I choose to do a certain amount. I choose to do 12,000 steps a day. I choose to do three workouts a week. I choose to eat better because it fuels my day.
Yeah.
I used to look back at a story when I was be going to see an initial job, and it might get penciled in for me at, let's just say, 11:30 because it suited the client, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll just go. And then I drove for an hour, so my day was kind of broken before I started. I couldn't really get into anything. And then I would drive, go to the project and realise that it wasn't a great project. I probably shouldn't have gone. I was then driving home and had missed lunchtime, so I grabbed a sandwich at the garage or something.
Yeah.
And then I was running out of energy by the afternoon, and I'll just start again tomorrow. And I realised that I can't believe how simple. So it comes down to daily structure, weekly
Yeah.
structure, all this sort of stuff. But the sort of all the understanding nutrition, understanding bank structures, saving structures,
Yeah.
investing for my kids, in future. I just didn't know any of these things.
Yeah.
I didn't read books. I didn't invest in my own self development, but I made a mistake reading too many books and not implementing things. So
Yeah.
now the advice is if you are reading books, just stop and implement what you've learned. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Solid advice, definitely. And well, you're a bloke that can kind of you're one of those that has actually lived everything that you're talking about, which is crucial, I think, isn't it? You're able to give real time examples of where you've been and where you are today.
Yeah, I think so. And some of the pains along the way and some of the testing times and I think that's where it makes it worthwhile because it was all part of the journey. I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I just went from day to day and thought, well, I'll do this and I'll do this. But
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice now to realise that you can actually help as well. And I'm always learning. It's not I'm learning from the people, my group of people. They're
Yeah.
helping me about me be accountable. I've got one client that just wants to swim twice a week, but from him swimming twice a week, it makes me go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to go for a swim or go to the sauna. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes just about the health and well-being being the foundation of what you do on a daily basis. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting and it's fun. It's
So
energetic. It's
what's
good.
your kind of you've had this brilliant career to date so far, and you've got these successful businesses going on. How does the kind of next 5 year plan for you now look with the practice to the surveying company to your designing and advising success business? What's your kind of 5 year plan now?
Yeah, it's funny because you say, successful. People sometimes ask me what how do you define success? And everybody will
Mm.
define it differently. I
Yeah.
think when I look back on how I defined success, certainly with Crawford Architecture, was that we got in a position where we grew the company fourfold. We had a great culture. We had people coming into roles that were always learning. We started to identify what projects were good, what were not, the data, all that. So I
Yeah.
think getting to a stage where I could let my dad go into retirement with a succession plan and help with that. I think for me on a personal level, that was probably my biggest achievement.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Focus,
can understand that. Yeah.
sorting his future,
Yeah.
and for my family and for the team at Crawford. So that was probably the biggest success. The other businesses, they're very early start
Yeah.
businesses. Obviously, I would love for them to be successful, obviously as well. But I guess this is my second chapter as well. I want to make sure that Crawford Architecture keep going in the right road. I want to work, keep making sure that I add value to my clients, but at the same time, I'm very appreciative of things don't happen overnight. I don't want to rush anything. I'm just taking my time and trying
Yeah.
to build something that hopefully my boys will be proud of
Yeah.
in the future. So that's
Do
the
you
main
do
thing.
you worry? Do you worry that we already spoke about business owners spending 18 hours a day, finish at midnight, start at 5 in the morning? Are you worried that now taking on these other businesses, going in different directions with each one, you're going to fall back into that, which is something you tried to get away from?
Yeah, it's brilliant
So,
because it did happen. It did
yeah,
happen. I'm not going to lie about that. I did exactly that. I
yeah,
got myself in a position where, for the first time in my life, I felt I had a bit of time, a bit of freedom. And I know that didn't mean that I had all the time in the world to sit about. It meant I was in control of my day. I did what I thought was the most valuable thing to do that day.
yeah,
3 to 5 key tasks as opposed to a to-do list, the length of that. And then you start these different, they're not, I didn't set out to start different businesses, but it's almost like because it's an ecosystem of tools to help the practices, then let's go for it. But I have, I've employed different people in different roles for these businesses, and try my very best. This afternoon I'll be here for the boys coming in from school. I'll take
yeah,
them to football. So I think there's some non-negotiables in there. I mean, I'm like everybody else. If I wasn't disciplined, I would work 24/7.
yeah,
Um, I think the difference now is the discipline to waking up early, not just reach for my phone and start working, which I used to do.
yeah,
I try to do something for myself first, which I don't mean that in a selfish way. I mean that if I do something health and fitness wise, I'm in a better mindset for my boys getting up in the morning.
yeah,
Whereas I used to not even be here. I was in the office. So
yeah,
no, I think I'm not invincible to that. It could happen. I'm trying to be accountable. I tell everybody around about me as well, don't let me get to that stage because I am definitely a person who could just keep
yeah,
working and keep working. But clearly, that's what I help others with now. So I need
yeah.
to try to be as disciplined with myself as possible. So
Are
yeah.
your two boys, are they showing signs of wanting to get into the architecture world as well? Are you, I won't use it. Are you steering them that way, letting them make their own? They're very young. I think you said 11 and 9, was it? They're very young. Are they showing signs of, Dad, I want to be part of the family business as well, or what's happening there?
100% focus on football.
Yeah,
Or
good
sport.
lads. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, no, not at the moment. I try to pass on stuff to them, just about even for their football, I try and just tell them to always train hard and keep doing it. Cammy's got an interesting one just now. He gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning. He does his not I didn't tell him to do this, but he gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning and he does 20 minutes with skills, football skills thing.
wow, yeah, yeah,
And
good
he's
lad, really
on his
good
own
lad.
accord, but he knows how if he's consistent and keeps doing something, he gets better at it.
Yeah,
But he did say to me one morning, Dad, do you feel that some mornings you just can't be bothered, you just don't want to
yeah,
do it, but afterwards you feel better? And I'm like, brilliant,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what
That's really
we
good.
all, we all put off tasks that
Yeah,
we know we need to do.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know where. I don't know what they'll do. They're young. Hopefully
Well,
they can.
if they become footballers, that's your retirement plan right there, isn't it? If they become professional footballers, that's
Exactly. But I think joking aside, I want to be
yeah,
I want to be in a position where I can help support them in whatever they want to do.
yeah,
Whereas where I was previously, I'd have probably blinked and missed it. I was probably
yeah.
been too busy on the hamster wheel trying to keep teams of clients and projects and everything happy and on target. Which was a thankless job at times.
There will be an awful lot of people that watch this that can hear your story and say, "That's where I am right now,"
Yeah,
and I'd like to get to where you are right now. And I speak to people that are just working 24/7, and
it's horrible.
they're burnt out basically. But there is a way of coming away from that. But it's very nervous to make that step, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't even think you need to like. It's not. Some of the things are not big steps. Some of the things are actually just like honestly speaking. I think somebody asked me on a podcast the other day about where do you start, and I said just
Yeah,
having a coffee,
yeah,
just speak,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, just actually speaking to people and people that that's what I did.
yeah,
But I think buying yourself time. If you think you don't have time, ironically, the thing that you do need to do is actually just pause and give yourself a day
yeah,
um, or even an hour.
yeah,
But I would have, I burnt out loads of times. I was always sitting thinking, I can't possibly give anything more to this business. I can't possibly work any harder. Physically shaking, not good at all. But it's
mm,
a story now, and that I just wish I was in the. I just wish this like the place I'm in now,
yeah,
um, where I just feel I understand and know what I needed to do to get in that place. But yeah, it's for anybody that is on that hamster wheel, you can definitely get off of it and you can enjoy. I think the main outcome is to enjoy your architecture, enjoy doing what you do, enjoy
yeah,
being an architect, technologist, technician, whatever role you do in that company. But um, there is a way where you can help get everything else working for you in terms of efficiency. I think with the even with technology, AI coming in, all this sort of stuff, people thinking that, oh, there's another thing. There's a lot of shiny objects just now as well, and it's
yeah,
important you don't just get distracted. You don't, even down to the notifications, not going straight into your emails in the morning and your notifications on your phone and not just doom scrolling, just all that
yeah,
sort of, you know, I guess all that advice. But um, people, they can definitely do it. They don't have to be working. If you're working, if you feel that you're working 24/7, you're actually doing something wrong. And I was
yeah,
doing something wrong. Nobody should work like that because there's more important stuff. There's family, there's relationship, there's health and well-being. There's a lot more important things in life.
yeah,
Not more important, but well, it is.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. It is. Yeah,
you do,
yeah,
because your career and your business is obviously still important, but it's not the be all and end all. It shouldn't take up your life, and it certainly shouldn't make you miss out on family time or relationships or meals or
yeah,
games of golf or whatever it may be. You've got to get to that stage where you can find the balance, and it's a much better place to be in. You're a better person for it, for all the people around about you as well, including your
yeah,
team.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Wise words, and coming from somebody that's been there and done that, it's hopefully people will sit up and listen and take heed of your advice because it's very good. So you're working on right now. Then you're spread between the three different things. You're in a good place. You think you're working on the architecture practice, the surveying business, and you've got a lot going on, lots of plates spinning, but you're managing it all quite comfortably, basically.
Yeah, my weekly structure becomes really important. I know what I'm doing
Yeah,
each day. I know what area I'm focusing on each day, but I've also got people around about me that are, like I say, we're not going at any great speed. I don't want to get to the point where you're as we spoke about. So I think it's just enjoying the journey. I didn't enjoy the journey before. I felt everything was a race.
yeah,
Now I'm just enjoying the journey. I like it. I'm energized every day. I want to do what I'm doing. Whereas
yeah,
before, I sometimes dreaded it. To be honest, I
yeah,
felt like the next fire was just round the corner, and I sometimes dreaded going in. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it's just if we can get. I know there's a bit of hard work ahead, but if we can get these this ecosystem of tools helping practices, then that's my number one goal now, is to help practices be as successful as they can be, and make the people just enjoy their
Yeah.
lifestyle. Don't let the business dictate your life. That's for sure. It's not worth it.
Well, all credit to you, and even if we can help just one person that resonates with what you've said today, and they become a better person for it, then
Exactly.
fair play, and all credit to everything you've done so far, and look, thank you for coming on, talking to us, and hopefully we can get as many people seeing this and listening to your advice as possible.
No, thanks for having me on, Nick. Enjoyed chatting.
Very good, thank you, Kevin.